Now, you'll all be glad to know that you can all race off to the pub or wherever as you go to cool down in these terrible conditions. It's Tom. Toby's a photographic artist and he's also an activist. Hi Tom, good to see you, mate.
My brothers and sisters, it's kind of difficult for me to stand here in front of you today after so many eloquent and important people have gotten up to speak before me. And you may be asking, why is it that I should be getting up here to speak when there are so many other more important and relevant people who have given us such useful and first-hand information? My brothers and sisters, my name is Tom Toby. I am an Australian of Lebanese heritage. I travel to Iraq every single year and have done so since 2014 on a pilgrimage. And I ask myself, as an Australian Muslim man of Arab heritage, I ask myself, what would I know about what happened in Iraq during the war were it not for people like Julian Assange? And I ask myself, to what extent would the Australian government have been complicit were it not for the people like Julian Assange? I ask myself, how many nameless, faceless children who would have disappeared into the ages, into the graves, mass graves, without their name ever known, were it not for people like Julian Assange? I have stood in my own pathetic way, really, for Julian since the very beginning. And I have cried tears for what that man has to go through, for what he continues to go through. And I cry tears of anger and rage when I think to myself how complicit the hypocrite in this office and the hypocrites like him here in Australia and the hypocrites like him all over the world hide their faces and give us their bullshit excuses as to why they cannot free an Australian citizen whose only crime was to tell the truth against this Western bullshit democracy that we want to hold on to so tightly. And I think to myself, how much they scare us. And they say, well, you know, you should be thankful that you're not living in China. We should be thankful that we are not living in Russia. And I think, well, how much more different could it be? We're doing what they do. Maybe we're a little jealous of them that they do it a little more efficiently than we do. But stay on this path and we will end up there soon enough. I've heard it said to me before, you bloody wog, go back to your own country. And I looked at them and I said, this is my country. And I was born here. And it's not that I think that other countries are better or worse. I just expected a hell of a lot more from this country. When you are going to stand there, and of course I'm speaking to the government, when you are going to stand there and lecture the world on what it is to be a Western democracy, but you have not got a mumbling word to say about your own citizen, whose only crime was to speak the truth, And shame on you. And I think to myself, you know, if we are going to spend billions of dollars on purchasing submarines from our ally, the United States, after we shagged our other ally in France, well, at least we could have put a caveat on it and said, we'll buy your bloody submarines, but why don't you release one of our own and bring him back home? But that's not what we did. This is not who we are as a nation. I'm embarrassed to call myself an Australian. And the only thing that I have left to love in this country are the people that stand before me, my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, those who would stand against injustice everywhere and not just depending on the colour of the skin of the person we're outraged for. My brothers and sisters, I've spent the last 2 months shaking with rage at what has happened in Palestine. I spoke to a journalist not so long ago, and I said to her, because she looked like she was struggling, the poor thing, and I said, look, if you're not sure how to fill columns in a newspaper, just write down the names of the children that Australia has supported the killing of in Palestine, and you won't run out of words to say. And when I said that to her, I remembered my brother Julian, my mentor, the one that I look up to, the highest of this country. And I think to myself, Julian, if you hadn't have been arrested back then, you would have been arrested this time. And if you hadn't have been arrested this time, there would have been something else for you to be arrested over, because I know you would not give up the cause for your own safety and your own well-being. And I just wish that governments here and overseas, and I'm not going to talk about the Israeli government because, well, when you have a man of the clergy here, Satan need not be mentioned. But I say to people of good faith, and yes, I include my atheist brothers and sisters, because good faith is something that comes from within. I say to my brothers and sisters of good faith, do not forget your brother Julian Assange. Do not forget your brother McBride. Do not forget the needy and the massacred all over the world. And you are the ones to be proud. God bless you all.